Lenny, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a Life Lived Trans podcast again with your hosts, Mardi P, that's me, and Lenny Z, that's he. And we're so excited to bring you weekly doses of wisdom from two trannies who have seen it all before. Yes, they make us say trannies. Yeah, they do. Isn't that horrible? I think that's elder abuse or something. Anyways, right now, you're listening to a free preview to get the full meal deal episode extravaganza. Be sure to check out our Patreon. The links will be in the description below.
Hi, honey.
Yeah. Hi, that business is out of the way. So here we are. Oh, look, you look so colorful. We're both colorful.
We're both at spring. Spring has sprung.
It is. We're wearing colorful outfits. Yeah, it's springy in New York. It's nice out here. It was like raining like crazy. I'm on the West Coast and
the West Coast of
Vancouver
Canada.
Island of Canada. I'm lucky enough to be in Canada, and to our listeners, if you go to our Patreon, there is a actual subscription tiers, and the top tier you can actually. No, I think the middle tier, you can actually view this episode. And the top tier, you can actually join in on a Sunday episode. And that would be fun, too.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be exciting to have people ask us questions or to be...
In real time.
In real time. That's going to be exquisite.
Yeah.
Exquisite.
Yeah, well, we're going to be answering some questions at the end of the weeks. Like our first 4 episodes of our podcast were free, and then every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of every month is going to be free, and then the rest are on Patreon. Well, there'll be little snippets like the first 5 minutes, like here, and but yeah, it's like if you could join in on the fun and help support Life Lived Trans Testimonies. That's why we're here. You know, we talk about what happened in the 80s. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about surgeries back then. Late 70s is when I first started, physically, like actually in real time, meeting people, and learning about the surgeries and stuff that when they were not from a book, but actually people that had done it. So when was the first time that you started hearing about surgeries and stuff? It was in the 70s, right?
I only came across an article about Christine Jorgensen and the library.
Same with me, yeah.
When I was probably 12 years old, just pouring through articles and newspapers and trying to figure out what was going on with me. And I said, aha, this is what's going on. And so by the time my parents took me to Tulane Medical Center, I kind of knew what the story was. And there weren't very many. I mean, my mother said the other day, she's Cuban. Oh, Lenny. So do you know that Christine Jorgensen, she was one of the first women to have surgery to become a woman. But she was not. There were surgeries before that.
Yeah, way before that. I think the first one on record was at the clinic in Berlin, right?
Right.
Wasn't it? Or was it no? Edie did Edie? Is that where little Edie, or what was her name? The Danish girl.
We're gonna cut this out because I'm gonna look it up. Danish girl surgery. Oh God, Ebe.
Ebe, yeah.
Lily Elbe. She's Danish.
Yeah, Lily Elbe. Yeah.
And she went through the whole thing, and I'm not sure. I think there were a lot of complications, and she went.
But where was that?
Was that in Berlin? Yes. And it was at
the Hirschfeld?
Yeah, at the Hirschfeld, yeah. And she went she went to 4 surgeries it was like the 20s, 1920s.
The 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they and what killed her was that they actually didn't they do an actual uterus transplant?
They tried to do a womb transplant, and I think that's what killed her. And don't fact check us on any of this because we're going through haphazard.
We're going
internet.
through a lot right now. We're old. We're old. We don't know what we're saying half the time.
We're going through a little internet search while we're preparing for this, but
as we do.
But they made a movie about it, and a lot of people sort of poo-pooed the movie because they didn't get some of the exact details right, but it was
And
actually,
because they didn't have a tranny playing the title
well,
role.
yes, that too. But I'm sorry, Eddie Redmayne did an amazing job, I thought. And it was,
He did.
I thought it was
Yeah.
beautifully filmed. And this is what's so beautiful about his performance was that he really fell into it. And it just shows us how fluid our genders can be. You know, I mean, I can be very feminine when necessary or if necessary, which is rarely. But there was also another one I'm reading about right now, Dora Richter, who underwent a complete vaginoplasty and SRS at the Institute, making her possibly the earliest known recipient of this. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that was what year?
I'm about to tell you, also in the 20s. So Dora Hirschfeld. Wait,
Okay.
that can't be right.
So it goes way back. And before that, it was used to be, cutting off the, orchiectomy. You know what I mean? Like they used to do that to self-feminize. Like that happened like, the dawn of time, that stuff, to feminize yourself but we'll get into all of that stuff another time. But I really wanted to be sort of more today, just talk about, what we've seen with our eyes type of thing, and what we've gone through in the 70s and 80s, because yeah, I just wanted to do like the facts of what I knew, or what I've seen right now in this lifetime.
Well, just real quick for people who don't know, who might not be trans, what is an orchiectomy in lay person's terms?
Oh God, it's like, it's so hard for me to talk about that. I couldn't even say the word penis until like I don't know,
what's the other word?
7 years ago.
What was the other?
My first husband knew that I couldn't say penis, and like he said, well, let's call it yours a panoose.
Panoose.
That's the feminine version of penis. And I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Now they have all of these like nicknames for it. Like the kids now, they just are embracing it so much. I was like, I think they shocked the shit right out of me, with all of the shame around it, just by hearing, all these young ones saying like, oh, sheenus, or like, or princess wand, or so. When I was growing up, you'd actually see sex magazines that said dolls with balls and shit like that, right? And it was just so gross. And that's why, the kids are reclaiming, they think she-mail's funny and stuff like that too. And I actually had an escort service called She-Mail Exclusive, because it cut right to the bone of what it was about, right? Type of thing. Lack of a better word, sorry. It actually didn't. It but oh my God, I don't even try.
You're
and
so
I fucking
punny.
fall into shit. Jesus, so punny, yeah. But anyways, so the shame that I have around talking about it. But yeah, it's like an orchiectomy is basically having your testicles removed.
So that's sort of just one of the procedures you can have, and so I learned about Christine Jorgensen, and started to socially transition unbeknownst to my parents, because I just went to school and did my thing, and I was really lucky. I didn't even know that there was surgery for people like me, female to male, trans masculine people. And my dad, after my parents split up, my dad and I moved to Glendale, California, and I just happened to be watching cable news network, and there was a trans man. I'm talking about 1975 or 76. I was 14 years old, and there was, I think his name was Steve Dane, and he was talking about he had a full beard. He'd been taking hormones, and the one thing that he said that kind of stuck out to me with regards to male surgery, because they had phalloplasties back then, and there had been
what year are we talking again?
1975.
Wow.
And he said, if there's any way you can get through life without getting a phalloplasty, I would recommend that. And those words stuck with me, because for a long time, there was nothing I would have rather had than a nice, big, beautiful penis. or penis.
Dick.
Yeah.
No, for you it's dick.
Dick.
It's like you're claiming it, like, for sure from the. But it's like I always find it weird that it's like, thank you. I really wanted to talk about like the guy's side of this, because you just don't hear a lot of that. And but it's interesting that you mentioned that friend said that, because it's so true. That's what stopped me, is because when I first saw one, I was kind of horrified. I was horrified because they were not doing the microsurgery. They didn't have the robotic flaps or all the shit that they talk about now. They didn't even have flaps, period, or they didn't. It was just like a hole in the ground. Like, it was like, really, when I hear the comments of trolls today, that when you're just a wound and all that stuff, you know what? That's what I would have been agreeing with them back then, because back then that's what I saw too,
Well,
right? It was just,
that's why he said that wasn't a friend. He was just on TV, some guy. I didn't remember his name. But I can imagine how far the surgeries have come since then.
Oh, so far.
And I had a friend who just had his phalloplasty done recently. I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it because he's my friend, and we just don't show each other our parts. But honestly, I don't think I've ever looked up or seen a phalloplasty online.
That's not funny, because before I had surgery, like, I've never looked at, like, I've never looked at the surgery, how they do it, or I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know anything. But when I had the surgery, like, the internet was just really starting to happen. It was 97. I was 35 when I finally did it, after 4 times canceling, because the second time I was scheduled, the doctor, I had a friend that just had it done from the doctor, and her clitoris fell off.
Oh God.
And it was like a couple months after her surgery, so I canceled with that one too, but that still happens today, because if you don't have the right blood flow, it's like, if you don't have the right genetics, if it doesn't, if it's a bad, it just happens to be a bad surgery, shit can happen, right?
And
it's a surgery, yeah.
And just, without getting into too many of the details, essentially what they do is they invert the penis and create a vagina, and also
one of the ways.
That's one of the ways. And then I would assume that they use the most sensitive part to create a clitoris, so that there's some sensation.
Yeah. The tip of the penis is actually a clitoris. Like, we all know that. We all know that your dick is your clitoris, right?
Yes, I mean, we're all born with vaginas and clitorises until those.
Yeah, and your clitoris is your dick. Like, it's like, isn't it the way? One way that trans men do it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they, if the testosterone really works on them, they can get some substantial growth enough that it creates enough sensation for them that's good enough for them, right?
And so, there's ways of, and I should have researched this before, but they do a metoidoplasty where they sort of release the clitoris from the rest of the labia, so that it protrudes a little bit more, and it does enlarge through hormones, and it becomes way more sensitive, probably like a dick. And that's one way for people who don't want to go through the extraordinary surgery of having an actual penis constructed. But my friends and people that I've seen online who've done it, they seem to be quite happy with it. And, in Annie Sprinkle's movie, Linda Less and Annie, is very poignant, because she's with a trans man, and this is back in the 90s or late 80s, with a trans man who has a phalloplasty, and then they go through the entire process, because she was a very famous porn star back in the day. And I got to meet her, and I have a picture of her bosom ballet. And she goes...
Annie Sprinkle.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
Oh, I love her. I love her.
Eco-feminist now, and married to her wife. I think it's Beth. But they go through the explanation of how they had to either inflate or put in a rod to make the constructed penis rigid, so that they could have intercourse, and that was so that they could fuck. and she was they were both so candid about it, and they were so sweet, and it was just really eye-opening to me. But as I have told many people in my personal life, my equipment worked so well and I was getting so much enjoyment from what I already had that I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to give up that pleasure and risk not being able to achieve the orgasmic levels of enjoyment that I had with my original equipment down there. But I did have my first top surgery in 1988.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I hear most with trans women too. It's like they're usually they're so on the fence with when they're on the fence with having bottom surgery, is that they're worried about sensation and all that stuff. And it's like and I'll have it's like I'm fine. I'm like happy like I am happier now than I was before when it comes to sensation wise and everything. It takes a while to kind of wrap your head around the way that things work, type of thing. But it's but I wouldn't change it for the world. So I hear a lot of people that have had problems with it, but that's well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. There is always the visible the minority that get a lot of like airtime for if their surgery did get botched or something that they don't like, and people really dwell on that. But to tell you the truth, by the time I was 35 and I had the surgery, I didn't care what the hell I came out with. I really didn't. I just did not want to have that in the way of being able to just throw off my clothes and go into the saunas with my girlfriends, my cisgender girlfriends. I was basically just around cisgender people my whole life, and I just didn't want to have that. I just didn't want to have that anymore. And also for me, it just brings about, because I am basically mainly heterosexual. I'm curious in other ways, but the whole, I was just so sick of the whole chaser thing and the whole mentality around it. And I just wanted to be, abused like a garden variety fucking cisgender woman. If I was going to have to deal with the bullshit, I just wanted a garden variety. You know what I mean? Like it's just too much. But I'm just trying to say that I just hear so many people on the fence and like worried about that they won't have sensation and all that. And it's like, I'm telling you that chances are like 99% of the time it's like you'll be fine and you'll have a great sex life and everything, as long as you take care of yourself and do what you're supposed to do post-surgery wise. I think we have a really easy go of it compared to trans men. Wow,
that's interesting. I never thought of that, and I'm going to come back to that point. So first of all, imagine so for people who don't know, the level of dysphoria that exists for you to want to go. Some people are totally afraid of going under the knife. The level of dysphoria that you have to say, I want to surgically and change my body. And for me, it was top surgery, and it happened very early on. Thankfully, I had a really great doctor. But this is not just, I just don't like this part of myself, but cisgender people go through dysphoria or don't like their body, and they all have calf implants, breast augmentation, breast reduction, lip injections, butt implants, like all the things, because they don't feel comfortable in themselves. For us, it's very similar. I wanted to be able to take my shirt off at the beach.
Yeah.
And I have some great pictures from that, very shortly after the surgery, which I just wrote to the doctor who did my surgery because I have to get some documentation to change my gender marker in Louisiana. And I sent him pictures of me and said, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, I'm married to the woman who was with me when I had the surgery. And he, sent the notarized letter to my lawyer right away. But it was gender euphoric to be able to finally be free in that way, and there are things, penetrative sex can be great for some people, but there's other ways that we get off too. I mean, I'm telling you, give me a good hand massage and I'm at the moon. A lot of times, as you get older. But initially, when you're a horny teen or young adult, the deed is the thing that you want to do. But and there, when we were coming up, there were just not that many surgeons. Like, how did you even find a surgeon? Back in the day.
Yeah, on the streets. Yeah, you had
some odd years ago.
It was on the streets. You found out all the information about how to transition on the streets, and it was basically straight across the board. It was $10,000. All through the 80s and 90s, it was $10,000. To go. The main one was Dr. Biber in Colorado, in Trinidad, Colorado. That was like the sex change capital of the world during the the 80s and the 90s, and it was $10,000 cash. And they gave $5,000 to Dr. Biber and $5,000 to the hospital, and that was it. And but you needed the two psych reports and the psychologist report and all that stuff. But you could fudge it. There was doctors that you could freaking give blowjobs to get it.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. It was just stupid. But yeah, and but. It was, but they were, they started out somewhere too. And at the beginning, he's one of the ones that had weird shit happen. He's the one that had my friend whose clitoris fell off in 1984, right? And she called me screaming and all upset. And then I called and canceled. And I just, every time it happened, because 2 years before that was when I went to Toronto for another surgeon, and some woman dragged me in the bathroom. It's one of my biggest viral videos is about this story. But in Toronto, when I went to this clinic and it was all day I was there, and it was so bizarre because I had to go through all of these psychological assessments, and they were asking all those crazy questions that they do, are you, things from do you get an erection when you see soiled underwear and stuff, all that crazy stuff. And then it's and then you're the elephant man, not even being talked to personally, and they have a curtain, over your crotch and your head, so you're not even a person. They're just talking to your crotch and your genitals, and they have it's a teaching hospital, so they got all these people in the room, and they're grabbing your stuff and everything, and they're just going on, and it's doing all the buzzwords that they did at the time. Well, Marilyn is a primary transsexual because, she started when she was in her teens. And as you can see, it's very flaccid because she's taken hormones, all this stuff. And you're just feeling so weird. And it's they wouldn't even talk to you. And then it's they would leave. And then the nurse would say, okay, you can get dressed now. And it was just, and then it's okay, he'll do it. You know what I mean? And there was no etiquette. There was no nothing. You had to jump through the hoops so bad. It was they would only, I was at the tail end of the Harry Benjamin standards of care. Well, there was another 10 years to go, but it was basically, you had to jump through these hoops. You could not say that you went to queer clubs. You could not say that you were ever into a woman. You had to be completely presentable fembot. If you were any bricky looking person, you wouldn't be able to get it.
I've never heard that term, primary transsexual.
Yeah, there's primary transsexual, then a secondary transsexual. And when I first heard it, my little pick-me loving self, I was 18 years of age, and I was just oh, I'm primary. I'm such a woman. And then so I'd look at these other ones that were transitioning, the dads that transitioned to finally do it, you know what I mean? And, leave their, wife or whatever like that. And they were they're secondary transsexuals. And it's and it was kind of us and them, because Tiggy and I and all of us young ones couldn't stand those people because we thought, oh my God, they've lived off this privilege and saved off all this money and then did it. You know what I mean? No, with us, we're young and stupid. We didn't realize that all of our suffering is relative, right? Because, as an adult, I've met and become friends with people that transitioned later in life. And so many of them tried to kill themselves during so many parts of their lives. And you know what I mean? So many did probably kill themselves because they were trapped and stuff. So, but yeah, so when I see the pick-me's of today online and stuff, I get where they're coming from, but I really wish that they'd just kind of, walk a mile in their size 16 dad shoes, you know what I mean? Type of thing, what they had to go through, you know what I mean? Like we all have to understand that, we're all suffering here. Like they're after all of us, right?
Right. And so we've talked a little bit about bottom surgery, but that's not the only one. I mean, like I just explained, I had top surgery, came out real cool, real well. I mean, and I was not small. I was relatively big chested for whatever, reason, but I was binding for years and years, since I was a teen. And what they do is, and they make 2 incisions here, and then what they do is they cut the areola off, they put it on 2 saline pads, they cut them down with cookie cutter, I guess, to make them a little bit smaller. And then they stitch them back on, and I'm not going to show you now because it's just too personal to do on this live. But for an extra fee to our Patreon, we might do some more spicy content. I don't know. Is that allowed? Probably not. But anyway, he did a great job. And the phalloplasty
I wanted to have a dilating. I wanted to have a dilating circle at one point and have some women come in, and we can all just dilate together and have breakthroughs and stuff.
Well, can we talk about that for a little while, because I know some of our compatriots have had those even recently, and it's a process that you have to go through after you have your surgery to keep yourself open, right?
Some surgeries, like if I was 21 going through it today, I would save up every last dime and get that robotic flaps freaking
what is a robotic flap?
Perineum pull through technique, where it's minimally invasive. They actually use your perineum as the wall of the vagina, and then sure, they use a little bit of it, but not all of it, and then you don't even have to fucking dilate anymore. You won't even have to dilate. I think that's the one, or is it the one? Or is it the one? I could be wrong. Listeners, let me know. But I know that there's one that you don't have to dilate. Maybe that's the one where they use the Sigmund colon technique that's from Thailand. But I know there's one that you do not have to. You do not have to dilate.
It's called a perineoplasty or a peritoneal vaginoplasty, and it focuses on tightening the vaginal opening and the appearance while creates a new canal and using the pelvic
and
peritoneum.
It self-lubricates too.
Wow.
Because it self-lubricates too, which is good. But the only downside is that it can smell kind of funky for a while. And I hear that it usually goes away, but sometimes it doesn't.
Well, that's what Summer's Eve is for, honey.
That's what Summer's Eve is for. Yeah, exactly. It's like, and it's never going to be perfect. Like I did this, I did this vagina kind of Instagram thing. I can't remember what it was about. It was about keeping my vagina, or I don't know, or like having SRS or something. And it's like and some kids were saying, oh, it's like, I'm really thinking about it, but it's like, but I'm thinking, it's like, I really don't know if and this, that, and the other, reason. But if you even have a little bit of, I don't know, then don't fucking do it.
Yeah.
It's like, because if you really fucking need it, like if it's fucking life or death, like it was for me, it's like, you'll fucking do it.
Yeah, I was not interested in that. But what's interesting to me
it's the PPT. Oh, sorry. It's the PPT and the Sigmund colon. So both of them, you don't have to dilate with those.
Oh, is
our
producer telling us about that?
Our neo-pussy producer investigator will let us know. Our neo-pussy investigator that we have.
But it doesn't require none. You have to do some kind of dilation, and I would assume that that's some sort of dildo-like thing that you have to.
Well, with the inversion technique that I have, you have to do it like religiously. Like I was doing it. Well, at the beginning, it's just crazy. Like you got to do it like 7 times a day, or I
Oh
don't know,
my
6, 7.
God.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, because everything's healing and
That's a
forming,
time.
right?
Was it painful?
Not really. It was more uncomfortable than anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was like being in, I always say it was like being in the most extreme tuck I'd ever been in my life. Like it's like the most, and I'd been in some extreme tucks, let me tell you. And
Meaning, what is an extreme
some of this,
tuck for those of us who've never done
well,
that, had
a
to do
tuck
that?
when you tuck away your goodies when you before when you had your the other genitals that you hadn't removed yet, you tuck them, and it's like so mine would, like, by the time I had my surgery, I could just whistle and it would go up.
Wow.
It's like
So
everything
you
would
have
go
an
into place.
extreme tuck, and so you have to do that
So
several
you have
times
to
a
pull
day.
everything. You pull everything back, and it's like when extreme tuck is like you're pulling everything back. It's like you're squishing everything down. It's really pinching, and then you're outside doing stuff. And so, anyways, like it just felt like you're really pulled back. And I remember being in the hospital, going like, "Oh my God, they didn't do it right. They didn't take everything. This is crazy. I can still feel it. I can still feel it." And so when they pulled out the packing and everything on the 7th day, they pulled out the packing.
Day.
Yeah, and I opened my legs, and they pulled out the packing, and light came shining out of it, and and
Rainbows.
I took a mirror and I screamed because it looked like my ass was on top of my fucking stomach. It was so swollen. It was so swollen. It was like I had another ass. And I called my friend. I had my friend on the line. Like, this was before cell phones. So I had an attached line while the nurses were doing it. And I was crying to my friend. I'm going, "Oh my God, it looks like the cunt that ate Los Angeles." It's like, it was just like huge. And then, but then when they pried that little bum apart to see the handiwork down there, and then I kind of lifted stuff up, I went, "Oh my God, that's where the pinching tuck pain was coming from. It was my little smarty, my little bean, my little clitoris. It was so cute." It's like and then I started crying on the phone to my friend. "Oh my God, I can see my smarty." And I was like crying, and I was going, "It's so beautiful." And it was so cute. It was like a sideways smarty. It was so cute. And I was just like, "Oh my God, it was like sending like an SOS to me. I love you. I love you. Everything went good." It was like,
and how painful was it, right? Like
afterwards, it wasn't. It was just uncomfortable. It was just uncomfortable. But it was for me. I was down. I just won. I was
ready.
so fucking happy. I was so fucking happy because 1997, Dr. Meltzer, like they were doing like the real micro origami like surgeries, like right and getting in there, like the double flaps and stuff. Wow. You know what I mean? Like getting right in there. And his was a 2 surgery. I came back the next year and had like the labiaplasty. So, and cisgender women get it too, to make theirs more.
After they beautify their, some women get
after birth.
Very well, not just after birth, but a lot of women, if they've had a lot of sex or they have a sexual partner that's very girthy, gets, I guess, a little bent out of shape, and so they have it beautified.
That's a good cut right there, Carly.
but the same thing with me when I had my top surgery. They said, "Oh, it's going to feel like a donkey or an elephant sitting on your chest." And quite frankly, and this was 1988, so we're talking almost 35 years ago, or 30, whatever. I can't do math. And you know what? It was because I was so happy and so thrilled to have it done that the pain was negligible. And the one thing I would tell trans guys who are going for the top surgery is work out before your surgery and do a lot of pectoral building, especially the lower pectorals, because that's where they put the scar, is in the shadow of your pectoral muscle. And so you do a lot of decline weightlifting so that you build those lower pectorals. And my friend Justin, who I thank to this day, he's on TikTok, Little Ball Man, who introduced me to the doctor and gave me so much self-confidence and peace and grace to go through this process. And I stayed, my wife Andre and I stayed at his house. Well, she wasn't my wife then, but we stayed at his house during and it was painful, but it didn't kill me. And they put drains in and whatever. So Marty, I assume, I'm just wondering, that estrogen builds some breast tissue, but then a lot of trans women go through top surgery as well.
I
Breast
don't know what you're.
enhancement. You don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. Mine are completely natural. I don't
So
know
the
what you're talking
tatas
about.
are natural.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on. Talk to me. Talk to me.
Yeah. Yes. This has been a four four operation procedure, 3 operation procedure. So yeah, one had to have 4. The other one had to have 3, and it's not because I wanted bigger ones. It's just that
For
when you
what?
live this long and you get implants when you're like 19, make sure that you realize that those suckers are not. You might. I don't know. I have girlfriends that say, "Oh, mine are fine. I got mine in 1976 and they're still good." And I'm looking at them like, I go swimming with them and I'm going like, "Okay, I don't think so, girl." It's like, I think you should get those checked. It's like, but you really need to get them reinstalled. You have to. It's like if you're going to
reinstalled. I like that.
you have to get the reinstalled. You got to. It's like you got.
Why do you have to get them reinstalled?
Well, because they start to leak, they all these things happen. Anyways, there's this like a 7 to 12 year like range, with the implants. Yeah, it just is. That's what doctors say.
Mm-hmm.
There really is. It's about 7 to 12 inch because they deteriorate. Your skin changes. The capsules around them start to get a little bit more intense because capsules do grow around them. It doesn't matter. Some just bigger than others, but it's like, but for me, I got capsule contracture 3 times. Eventually it happened, especially because I was active. And one time I fell in a yoga class on my chest.
Oh, no.
And then it started growing into a really deeper. I could already feel something was starting. Mm-hmm. And so that when they pulled it out, like there was so much capsule contracture. It was crazy. That was in 2017. But when I have to get it done again, I'm just going to get them taken out. I'm just going to have little granny, yoga titties. I'm going to get the tit lift. And
I love them. They're so beautiful.
No, I'm going to do tit lift. I'm going to go, you'll love these two, little tit lift. I'm going to do a tit lift and then just fill it with my own fat tissue, right? And
okay. Is that healthier or safer?
Well, yeah, because it's all your own.
And where did they get it from?
I just don't want to be one of those like older people that it's like have these tennis ball hanging freaking tits that have like that are on their laps and they just look insane, getting their medication in a nursing home or something. Well, I'm not going to end up in a nursing home. I would kill myself before I do that.
You'll live with me before you end up in a nursing home.
Yeah, no, it's but yeah, it's like you have to if you're gonna invest in it. But can I just say one thing for the girls out there? One warning, because you're saying the warning about to do that chest work, before top surgery. I just want any. This is scary granny coming at you. Tranny granny coming at you.
Tranny granny.
Tranny granny coming after any of you young little whippersnappers out there that are wanting to get your little puss and you're saving away for it and you just want it so bad. Just remember, don't fuck in your bum too much or you'll poop through your cunt.
Oh no, I did not need to hear that, but it's the reality. It's the reality.
That is the message from the elders that have said that before me.
So just, this is going to get a little personal, but
I have to say it.
After you have your bottom surgery, you can still get it up the poop chute. And do you still have sensation up there?
The day that I got that
closed that door.
I got plowed the day before I had surgery.
Woo!
It was like Mardi Gras in like Portland.
Wow.
That was the Mardi Gras happening. And then I ended up like meeting this guy and guess what his name was on the dance floor?
Oh my God. I want to know.
Marty.
No.
Mardi Gras, Marty. Isn't that crazy? So we had to do
we'll
it,
have
right?
to talk about that later.
That was like my hurrah goodbye type of thing to my, yeah.
So some trans women after they get their vaginoplasty still have sex in the back.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I closed that door as soon as I had the surgery. I thought, no fucking way. I wanted to be a virgin again. I was
Like a
reclaiming.
virgin.
Yes.
Touched for the
For
very
the very
first
first
time. We're gonna do a
in my neovagina.
So
Yeah.
we'll do a duet of that song and then we'll release it on Spotify, and it'll be our first single track. So the top
Yeah.
surgery now here is even a more intense thing for me, which trans guys don't really have to go through. When I started taking hormones, my jawline got broader and my shoulders got broader, but I didn't have to have any facial touch-ups, which, you know, my lips are thin. I would have liked to have bigger lips. Getting old now, but trans women have to go, or many trans women go through facial feminization surgery, and that looks really intense to me.
Oh my God, the stuff they can do today. It's just like, I would look, if that stuff was around when I was a kid, I would look like a starred bellied sneetch right now. I would just be with high heeled feet and the whole thing. It was just, I'd just be like, it's like, because it's so addictive. Like, it was addictive back then when I got a nose job. That was the only facial feminization surgery that there was back then, was a nose job. That's it. That's all you had.
It.
That was it. That's all they could do. And I had two. Like, I had one like 6 weeks after the first one, because I was like, oh my God, it's not enough. It's not. And I swear he just punched me in the face and then woke me up, because it was almost completely the same again. So,
Wow.
but no, I was blessed with the curse, and so, as I used to say, and yeah, I just always had no jaw and all that shit. There they are. Aren't they cute? That's what I'd look like. That's me. That's me in an alternate universe. Thank you, princess.
I just
Oh
put
no,
it
that's
up.
not princess. That's Miss Fag Rights. Yeah.
I just put it up
Producer.
for fun.
That was you. I thought Carly put it up.
No, I looked it up because
great.
I wanted to see if I could do screen sharing, and
Star Belly Sneetch. No, because the stuff they have today is just amazing.
Do like an incision up here, and they kind of shave the brow.
They do that orbital bone shave, and they just shave it all fucking down. I have mine naturally like that. So
yeah, well, you're Polish and Swedish.
I'm an alien. I'm an
alien too.
Yeah, but yeah, they do that, and they just do everything. Like, do the jaw shaves. They can do clavicle, like your in your clavicles to make your shoulders shorter. They can just do everything.
Wow.
They like removing ribs now is like you know, like nothing. Before it was just like, oh my God, it's like I think that doctor does it. And I was like, God, I would have loved to have done that too. I'm just glad.
Why would you remove your ribs?
Because it just gives you a more waspy, feminine waist. But then, it can get pretty crazy.
So,
I listen to this podcast where there's 4 trans women on it. And it's like, I'm not one to gossip, so you didn't hear this from me. But it's like, it's like it reminds me of me when my young sisters when we were young, and and how they're starting to realize how addictive it is, type of thing, the surgeries and stuff.
Oh, really?
But because it really is. It's like you just aren't. It becomes addictive. It becomes an addiction for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
And they're all fucking gorgeous too.
Well, and let's not forget that cis women go through this as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And one look at, one surgery after another, and then you end up looking like an alien cat.
Oh, yeah.
Even as a cisgender person. And cisgender men, the most popular surgery for cisgender men is chest reduction, because a lot of cisgender men get gynecomastia. And so cisgender men end up developing breast tissue, and they have to get that removed. And I don't want to call out any of our politicians
Moobs.
who we know, moobs, right? Who we know have had facial surgery, probably gynecomastia surgery.
Sure.
And then they shit on our community for wanting to be and live our authentic selves. And God bless
Of course they do.
Only 25%, I think about 25% of trans people opt to have surgery. And God bless those who decide to go through life without it, because we have to smash the binary, because it's a beautiful spectrum, like your beautiful garden up there in Vancouver Island with so many different flowers. Why can't we celebrate all these flowers and see the beauty? I mean, I live in New York City. I see trans people on the train from the spectrum, bricks, dolls, non-binary, and they're all, to me, they're all beautiful. And cisgender, some of the cisgender people are beautiful too.
And that's the progress that we've made today, because and that's usually on, the daytime trains, like going to work and stuff. People are, living lives like that. Whereas, when we were growing up, God, I used to get spit at just for having red hair, and they'd just be punk, bitch. You know what I mean? And it was like, they were like, with me and my girlfriends, my cisgender girlfriends, and we'd always be yelled at, "Oh, you bunch of sluts, you fucking like you punk whores," like freaking, the red hair, like all that stuff. And it's like, so it was so funny to me because I was trans, and it was like, and we're getting the suppression, but it was with all my straight friends, right? So that's why I think that's a whole other podcast. But I think that's how you and I both gravitated into the music scene and the the entertainment scene, because we all flocked there. All of us.
And it's where we were accepted, and
yeah,
we'll probably
the queer umbrella. Really reached out over all that, right?
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a part 2 of this, because there's so much more to talk about, and where we might end up when people need surgery, but they can't afford it, or it's not available. They don't have insurance, and I have great insurance that covers everything. I probably need a redo of my top surgery. But anyway, we're at the end, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of A Life Lived Trans podcast. We'll be releasing new episodes every week. Thank you so much for subscribing to our Patreon. And if you want to find out more about us individually, you can find us easily at Mardi Pants and at Detached Ritzina. That's my Instagram. But I also have Lenny Zenith everywhere on, Blue Sky, lennyzenith.com. But we just hope to see you again. And please send us your questions, because Marty, I think we're going to have mini episodes where people can ask questions.
Yeah, we're going to have mini episodes on Sundays for paid members of Patreon. You'll be able to access that. When we start, we'll start dropping those when our freebies stop, which is
in a couple of weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah.
Yeah, we're giving everybody some freebies before we start drawing them in with the paid subscriptions. But it's so beautiful to see you, and thank you for your candor as usual, because that's what I think is so special about our conversations, is that we're so honest and open about the experiences we've had.
Oh, and I just want to mention, too, that we have our first guest lining up, which is really cool. You guys will all know who she is. It's like, I'm not going to say who it is. Exactly. It's a surprise, but she is quite popular trans woman on television and film. You guys will love it. She's a hoot. So we're going to start having guests.
All right,
love you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Send us your questions. DM me wherever I am on social media. Bye, darling.
Too. Love you.
A Life Lived Trans is a Diva Down production, produced by Carmen Laurent and Carly, aka Tranby.
Your hosts are Lenny Zenith and Marty Perenek. Thank you for supporting our Life Lived Trans testimonies.
For full episodes and bonus content, please visit www.patreon.com/alifelivedtrans.